New endgame difficulty will be insane. They buffed the pit because it used to be a joke between tier 100 and tier 200. Zero difference. Behind me, you can see Joseph. He was in an interview with Rex and Rex and revealed something incredible about the pit difficulty. Let's listen in.
Monster health scaling was pretty mild in the pit going through the first 100 levels. It was basically virtually nil. Around tier 150 pit is like close to where AOZ was, you know, for like tier 25 AOZ runs.
Tier 150 pit is like tier 25 Abattoir of Zir. That's crazy. Behind me, tier 25 AOZ. And in order to beat it, you needed to have your Tears of Blood glyph all the way leveled up, doing billions of damage with every single normal swing. Otherwise, it was completely impossible to actually do it, which kind of shows that tier 150 pit and beyond might be close to impossible to even achieve. Tier 200 pit might never be done. And that is an interesting change in my opinion, because I don't want to be able to do tier 200 pit, right? I want to be able to have content that maybe by my teeth when I'm scratching over the pavement, I'm remotely able to get anywhere close to. Something truly challenging to look forward to, and not this easy breathing through of content that is just unchallenging as hell, especially since there's no reward for doing it. We're doing pit for material, but tier 100 pit was more than enough to get all the material you ever need. Afterwards, it's just patting your own shoulder. Now having an absolutely incredible late game pit, what does that mean for our builds? What does that mean for the Necromancer and what we can play? First, let's talk defense in the new armor system. My armor is currently 7,644, and it still says reduce physical damage taken from enemies of equal level. Ignore this enemies of equal level, because now in season 4, if you reach an armor value of 9,232, yes, I know, weird number, you have 85% physical damage reduction from any leveled monster. So no matter if it's tier 25 AOZ, tier 200 pit, level 200 monster, or level 100 monster, you'll get the same level of damage reduction from them in season 4. The thing to understand here is that the damage that the minions dealt to your life wasn't higher between tier 100 and tier 200, only that the life of the monsters got beefier and beefier so that you needed to do more and more damage to kill them. But it was a gradual increase, and that's the same thing that's going to happen now, only that instead of a gradual increase, we're now looking at having to do way more damage, just like in the Abattoir of Zir, like Rob is doing here. Which means defense is going to be quite easy. Beef up your armor, forget about the disobedience stat, pick up your damage reductions where you can, like Decrepify from the Necromancer with a 20%, or here would be another 12%. Even if you sacrifice the minions, you could get another 18%. And in your Paragon board, you always have the option to take the Territorial Glyph for another 10% damage reduction. And don't forget, Fortify now provides you with 15% damage reduction instead of 10%. It is possible to quite get to a level where you're not getting blasted and we're avoiding these pesky one-hits. Another good thing is the buff on diamonds, because they are currently at 5%. On the PDR, they were 6%. And now in season 4 release, they're going to be even higher. Whereas the total amount of elemental resistance a ring did and the amulet does in season 4 got increased as well, that you should be able to reach your resistance cap without having to do crazy things in your Paragon board and pick up poison resistance nodes and other shebang. Nah, should be able to be achieved over your equipment. And don't forget, there's an affix on pants, and I think it also is on boots, that was resistance to all elements. That masterwork will 100% get you there, because you don't want single resistance stats on gear, especially if one single stat can go up to like 50% core skill damage instead of 21%. I mean, we don't want to waste that for resistance when it boosts our actual output so much otherwise. And that's what we're getting to, the damage output, because every piece of gear can provide damage now. This is my helmet with Dex, total armor, max life, and cooldown reduction. We're going to have 3 stats, but each of these stats is going to be more. But not only more, my helmet can have damage, my chest can have damage, my gauntlets can have damage, my pants, my boots, my shield, my offhand, everything can increase your damage. That means actually getting more damage is a viable thing. For example, on our Necromancer, there is the Wither node, which currently has a 100% bonus because it's based on our intelligence. But we can get easily twice or even 3 times as much intelligence as we have right now in Season 4, doubling or tripling this bonus to completely overwhelm our opponents. And that's where greater affixes are coming into play, and you having to grind to actually beat the pit on the highest tier if you then wish to put in that much time. Because this is the thing. The endgame content like the pit is meant for the super grinders, correct? And if you do want to beat the pit on its highest level, you will want to have a weapon that has not 1 greater affix, not 2 greater affix. It should have 3 greater affixes. What are greater affixes? They are a 1.5 increase on the normal one. Let's say my boots are currently giving 60 intelligence. They would give 80 to 90 intelligence in Season 4. And if it was a greater affix, it could go up to 120, 130 intelligence without even having masterworked it. Because then after the greater affix pushes this up really high, you can masterwork the stat for 25% and a 25% increase. I mean, there's a chance to bring this up to like 200 intelligence roll on one piece of gear. And since intelligence is your all damage, that would simply increase your all damage, but that would just be intelligence. What if you get a critical strike damage roll that could go up to 80, 90, 100% on a single piece of gear critical strike damage increase, that then gets multiplied by your grasping veins by 40%, and then you sacrifice your golem for another 30% increase, and so on. Boosting your damage to levels not seen there before, and that is not even considering your temperings. Let's take a peek at a normal glove here. Legendary glove, tempering. What do we have available? So we could increase our bone critical strike damage by 85% on the maximum, correct? That is an unmasterworked bone critical strike damage. Now this gets increased by 5% for every step of masterworking, and we have 12 steps, plus the 25% increase. Well, this tempering of bone critical strike damage can go on your gloves, could go on your weapon with even more bone critical strike damage. And then looking on your focus, yes, another bone critical strike damage. So we can, if everything goes good with masterworking, can increase just another 400% on the 2000% we've had anyways, with then all the multipliers happening. So the damage ceiling is way higher. But for this, we truly have to get the gear, get the super good rolls with the right tempering, farm our masterworking materials in the pit, non-150 like 100, 90 and so on, and then try to get these items truly good with the greater affix items as well, to then enjoy the end game and try to truly get as far as possible. And this is something people have been looking for, because what am I supposed to do in Season 3 currently? In Season 3, I get everything. I've beaten a tier 100 dungeon, right? We recently just boosted Uber Lilith out of her seed, and I've killed the Echo of Malphas more times than I can count, and finally received both unique tuning stones. And that was kind of it. Now, obviously, I could go for the leaderboard if I want to go for the leaderboard, but at the same time, in order to actually play the leaderboards, I didn't need that ultra killer super duper gear. I needed that specific gear that had shrine buff duration on it, on the boots and what so on. But I didn't need any specific like super giga uniques. I mean, sure, the uber uniques to maybe compete for #1 because the Ring of Starless Skies is completely overtuned. But apart from that, like, there was nothing more for me to do. Now then, after you leveled up your character, you're going to be teleporting to Karagar after 100. You're going to farm your gear. You're going to farm your glyphs up because, again, you do need your glyphs all on level 21, right? And then you can actually dive into the pit and go as deep as you want to. If this is not the end game you're looking for, that's a shame. But that is essentially that one end game to really bud your head against, to see how deep can you go and to truly finally make endgame builds. Because right now we mostly had 1 to 100 builds, and then maybe a Uber Lilith build or clear like a tier 100 dungeon, but we truly didn't actually need endgame builds. It was mostly level. But now considering an actual endgame build to really min-max squeeze out every single piece of damage reduction, to maybe put in 5 points into Decrepify, because usually you wouldn't do this. 5 points into Decrepify sounds horrible. 1 point is already 20% damage reduction. Every further point is a minimal increase of damage reduction. But considering that we want to go into the pit as deep as possible, maybe the difference between 20 and 24% is there. And if I get another 5 ranks on Decrepify, well, that's going to be looking like 26 or 27% of damage reduction, but it's free damage reduction that I don't have to do anything for. I don't have to stand close, far. It's not fortify. It's just decrepify, damage reduction. What do you think? How are you feeling about the pit being like tier 25 Abattoir of Zir in the end? Not at the beginning. Are you going to be angry if you can't beat all 200 levels, or are you going to be excited to try it? Give it a go. How far can you go with your limited time, Mom Dad Gamer? Now, if you're looking for 2 builds to get you there fast, here they are. Necromancer, number 1. Enjoy. Thanks for watching.